So it's Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Lou Dibella for the season premiere of Dibella's Digest. We made it to a second season. We haven't yet been cancelled. Obviously, I guess it'd be me doing the cancelling, so I'm not going to do that. It's always good to have great content for free, I must say. How you doing, Lou?
It's also good not to be cancelled, let me tell you.
Yeah, well, that too. I have no such experience because I've never got to that level in the first place, but I know you have, of course. How's your week been?
Busy, no complaints. I went to a baseball game for 7 innings yesterday. I had to get my COVID test yesterday morning, my rapid COVID test, in order to get in. And I went to, but I decided it'd be a good thing therapeutically for me to go to a baseball game. So I went to a baseball game at Citi Field and watched the Mets win a very controversial fight. Not fight, but a very controversial game. There was a ridiculous, horrible call by the umpire that caused the Mets to win. So I'm happy because I'm a Met fan. But honestly, the Miami Marlins should have won. I mean, it was sort of like robbery. But, stuff happens. Sometimes it works towards your advantage, and sometimes it works against you. So it all evens out.
You can't get away from officiating controversy.
Now, let me ask you a question. What is the main event in the boxing tomorrow night?
Officially, Conor Benn against Samuel Vargas.
Okay, the only thing I've read anything about all week on boxing, in fact, I've had to get off of boxing social media because it's been like overdrive, is the fight for a world title between two women, one of whom is 6-1 and the other's 3-0. But they've managed to get a lot of attention to this little rivalry between Shannon Courtenay and Ebanie Bridges.
Yeah, I spoke to my colleague who's in the bubble this morning, and I said, look, film the whole way in on the camera as normal, but get your phone, film the Bridges Courtenay portion of the way in separately, and get that up quickly. And yeah, it's done. It's by far the biggest thing on our channel at the moment.
Well, I got to be honest. I think Shannon made the fight even bigger by sort of acting ridiculously. Look, the other girl, has jokes about her lingerie for the last year. Everyone knows, this is a fight now. Okay, no one cares. Who cares? She's not. No one's. Honestly, and you're sitting here talking about who should be in the fight. Rachel Ball smacked this girl around, smacked her around, and she should be thankful and grateful she's getting a title shot. And what? She's paid her dues? What are her dues? She doesn't. What dues has she paid? Look. On one level, it's ridiculous that it's a world title fight in a weight class that has no argument a lot of worldwide talent. There are a load of women probably more deserving than either one of these girls. Now, that being said, good for them that they have the fight. Shannon should be grateful. I think, honestly, part of the reason why I'm Team Ebanie Bridges here is that she does seem to be great. Ebanie knows she's getting a great opportunity. She worked hard to get it. And by the way, in the ring, this weekend, she will have had the opportunity to prove it. She'll have the opportunity to prove it. Ultimately, you have to fight. And yeah, you can look great in lingerie, and you can have, 8 million horny British men with bad teeth, chasing you through social media.
Surely that's an outdated stereotype now, isn't it? The bad teeth thing. We're just going to be known forever as having bad dental work, aren't we?
Danny, I just had to take a little
shot
over here. No, but I'm just envisioning in my head Austin Power kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's a bad joke and it's an old one. But the horny British men thing, there's nothing joking about that. Please. Look, Ebanie's a very attractive lady. She knows how to use it to get attention. However, when it comes to her dedication, how hard she works in the gym, what she brings to the table, she works pretty hard. That woman is really loves boxing. She follows it. She works hard. And we're going to find out. We're going to find out in the fight who had it and who really was able to pull it off in the ring. And then the winner of that fight is going to have to, it's going to be challenged by people that probably have more pedigree than they do. But you know what? I don't know if I've seen any. Looking at the attitudes of both women this week, I think that Shannon's got to lighten up a bit.
Yeah, it seemed a bit strange when she suddenly turned into the representative of Gilead or whatever this week. Very, very conservative. And I've never seen that side of her before. But it's, as you said, it's kind of helped promote the fight. She's become a better foil for Bridges as a result.
No, I mean, like, I don't care who you like or don't like, or who you agree with or you don't. I give both ladies credit for a good build-up to a fight. They've stolen the show. Without now, here's the interesting question. We don't know that much about either woman as a fighter. I mean, Shannon Courtenay did not have a good night against Rachel Ball, and she did not win. And it's not like Rachel is proven commodity either, honestly. So, like, and she's coming off what I thought was a pretty bad loss, and she's fighting a 3-0 lady for a world title. Now, we don't know what to expect, okay? But I believe this. I do believe that Shannon puts in hard work and that she's dedicated. I actually believe the other woman is equally dedicated. That's one of the reasons that some of the bullshit this week didn't, was like, okay, enough. And I think they're going to give everything they have. And I think they're both athletic, and I don't think it's going to be any kind of embarrassment. I also think it's going to be a close fight. I expect it to be competitive. And look, Brian Cohen is one of the most successful and established managers in women's boxing. And Kaylee Reese is a terrific fighter who I actually thought beat Cecilia Breakhouse a number of years ago, but it was a very close fight. It could have gone either way. And Cecilia, as the great champion she was, got the decision, but I thought it was a very close fight. Kaylee and Brian were in camp with Ebanie. Ebanie was in camp with them in Philadelphia in the state, and they were very impressed by what they saw. And they were saying glowing things about the shape she was in, how hard she had worked, and how she looked in the gym. So I think you're going to get both women at their best, and they've certainly become more notable figures in the sport this week. I mean, they got in our little bubble of boxing this week, they were front and center. So I give them both credit for having pulled that off. Now I'd like to see a competitive, tough fight. And I'm not going to lie, I'm rooting for Ebanie, but I want to see a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this subject before. I think for me, I don't attach any blame or anything to Bridges. I think you do, as you said, you do what you've got to do to promote yourself, and that's fine. I just worry about the wider impact on a side of the sport that's trying to gain acceptance and wants to be taken seriously, the female side of the sport.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not worried about that. I'll tell you where I'd be worried about that, okay? If Ebanie walks into the ring, and I don't think she's going to, I'm prefacing it by saying I don't think she's going to, but if she walked into the ring and she looked incompetent, like that girl that had fought, I think she fought Siniesa a while back, the girl that looked like she'd been pulled off of, I mean, I don't want to insult anyone, but looked like she hadn't had any experience. I don't want to say looked like she was pulled off a bench because it's too pejorative, but looked like she hadn't had any experience, okay? I don't want to, if Ebanie ever were to walk into the ring looking like that, then it's sort of unfortunate and sad that you could use certain, I mean, I get the argument if the only reason someone got there was because they were getting attention for the physical, okay? But this girl works hard, and there's not a big talent pool in Australia, and her fights have been canceled numerous times. She's been dying to fight. She's a real athlete. She's a bodybuilder. She's obviously a very physically strong woman at a lower weight, not a high weight class, but extremely physically strong woman. And she seems very, very dedicated to her craft, and she works really hard. And if she goes in the ring and she performs and she proves that she belonged in the ring with, not that she belongs necessarily as a world champion, but that she belonged in the ring with Shannon Courtenay, then with respect to the rest of the stuff, God bless her. It's cool. It's fine. If she goes in there and she wins the world title and beats Shannon Courtenay or knocks her out, as some people think is possible, if she were able to do that, she will at 4-0 be a very marketable female world champion, and any means she used to get the attention and the opportunity worked. Right?
I wonder how Savannah Marshall feels about it all. She could be one of the best pound-for-pound female fighters in the world. She's on the same show, and no one's really talking about her.
Yeah, but there's, look, in fairness, I think Savannah Marshall's an excellent fighter. And I think that Savannah Marshall, with the opportunity in a few more fights, will also be eventually could be in pound-for-pound kind of discussions, because I think she's very talented. I don't know. I think I have a feeling about who would win if she fought Claressa, but they're clearly rivals. They fought in the amateurs, and it's probably the most interesting fight out there at the higher weight classes in female boxing. Okay, but like, look at, there's a 45-year-old, European woman fighting, this weekend again, against Savannah, who had some history, some accident or history as an amateur where she had some, head-related injury that, made her career a little bit controversial in the beginning. And it's not really a challenge to Savannah. And yes, it's on a week's notice, but here's what people have to understand. If you have 3 months notice at the higher weight classes in women's boxing, the talent pool is so limited that, I know I 100% guarantee you Savannah Marshall's winning that fight 100%. So it's not competitive. And it's unfortunate. When Savannah fights Claressa eventually, and I believe it will happen, watch how much attention that gets. But this weekend, I think actually the fight that was more promotable got more attention.
And just on the subject of that show, before we kind of wrap up, Conor Benn is in the nominal main event. Is he at all on the radar in the US at the moment?
Not really yet. I mean, he's, among the hardcore boxing fans and people that really know the sport, obviously they know who Conor and Nigel is still a legend, for both in and out of the ring, and a real personality. So there's an awareness that Conor's on the map. I don't think there's a lot of attention being paid yet to Conor. He's fighting Sammy Vargas, right?
Yeah.
Is that who he's fighting?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a good trial horse kind of opponent for him. And look, I think that if he proves himself and continues to and gets into a major fight between him and his dad, they'll manage to beat the drum and it'll get quite a bit of attention. But right now, no, he's not he's not really on anybody, in a major way. But I think people who in the know are all aware of him.
And before we go, I just thought you might welcome the opportunity to say a few words about DMX, obviously hip hop legend who passed away earlier today.
No, it's just, man, it's a bummer. I met him a few times and I was a big fan. I'd seen him perform a number of times. He had a lot of demons, man. He had drug issues and addiction. He had problems, but he also was a prayerful man and a guy that was thoughtful and would talk about his own issues. And I don't know what happened. And obviously he had a heart attack. It may have been related to a drug overdose. The other thing too is when you have that disease and you get clean, then your body doesn't tolerate use of whatever you're addicted to the way it did when you had been using regularly. And you see so many of these situations where there are unintentional overdoses or overdoses caused by the fact that somebody that has the addiction lapses and uses the kind of what they were doing when they didn't have a problem. So my point is, when people were out there thinking that this guy had cleaned up his act, it's because he had a horrible disease. And in any circumstance, I mean, it's losing someone at 50 years old is a terrible thing. Using someone that talented is an awful thing. But, once again, it goes to a recurrent thing. It's always going to be something important to me. I lost my brother to suicide, will always be important to me. Addiction is a disease. Addiction is mental illness. Mental illness is real, and mental health matters. And when you look at what happened to DMX, it's just a loss of an immensely talented man too soon. And we have to do a better job in general of dealing with things like addiction, mental health, etc. Make sure we talk about it. So thank you for asking me about it, because I think it's important we talk about it. I think that I think a lot of reasons that so many people were affected by this guy's death was not only his talent and his brilliance or whatever, was that his life was such a roller coaster, but that he appeared to be trying so hard to make it work. And he can, but he couldn't. And rest in peace. And it's a shame. Anyway, good talking to you, buddy.
Thanks, Lou. And yeah, we'll see you next week.